So, today we're going to dive into one of the most incredible engines in the entire known universe, the human heart. It's this tireless muscle that literally powers our entire lives, and in this explainer, are going to break down exactly how it pulls it off, beat by amazing beat.
Just look at this number for a second. 100,000. That's about how many times your heart beats every single day. It just keeps going. No breaks, no vacations, for your entire life. I mean, that is just a staggering amount of work.
So, what's really going on with every single one of those beats? What is the secret sequence of electrical signals and powerful muscle contractions that creates that familiar lub-dub sound we all know? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out. Okay, so first things first, you've got to understand that the heart isn't just one simple pump. It's actually two completely separate pumps fused together and working in this perfect, beautiful rhythm. So the heart is basically split into these two jobs. The right side of the heart, that handles what's called pulmonary circulation. That's the short, low-pressure trip the blood takes to the lungs to pick up oxygen. Then you have the left side, which handles systemic circulation, a much longer, high-pressure journey, pushing all that fresh, oxygen-rich blood to every other part of your body, from your brain all the way down to your toes. And you can actually see the result of all that extra work. Because that systemic loop has to pump blood to the entire body, it's a much higher pressure system. So the muscle on the left side of the heart is noticeably thicker and stronger. It's literally built tougher because its job is tougher. All right, so to really get a handle on this double pump system, let's do something cool. Let's follow a single drop of blood on its complete adventure through the heart. Let's trace the path, okay? First, all the oxygen-poor blood from your body comes back and enters the top right chamber, called the right atrium. From there, it drops down into the right ventricle, which then gives it a good push out to the lungs. Now, in the lungs, it ditches the carbon dioxide and grabs a fresh supply of oxygen. That re-energized oxygen-rich blood then comes back to the heart's top left chamber, the left atrium. It passes down to the powerhouse, the left ventricle, which gives it a massive squeeze and sends it out through the main artery, the aorta, to the rest of the body. And then the whole cycle starts all over again. So you might be wondering, how does all this blood keep from flowing backward? I mean, with all that squeezing, why doesn't it just slosh around? Well, the answer is 4 absolutely crucial valves. Seriously, think of them like perfect one-way doors that snap shut at just the right microsecond, making sure the blood only ever flows forward. But what's the spark? What actually tells the heart muscle when to contract in the first place? Well, that's not a plumbing issue, it's an electrical one. There's this brilliant, invisible command center running the whole show. This is the conductor of the whole orchestra, the sinoatrial node, or SA node for short. It's this tiny little patch of special cells up in the right atrium that spontaneously generates an electrical impulse. That impulse then spreads like a wave through the heart, triggering the contraction. It's the spark that starts every single beat of your life. Now, what's really fascinating is that the heart has this whole electrical hierarchy. The SA node is the boss, right? It's the fastest, setting the pace at around 70 to 80 beats per minute. But check this out. Other parts of the heart's wiring, like the AV node, they have their own slower built-in rhythms. They're like backup singers. The best way to wrap your head around this is with a simple analogy. Just think of the heart's electrical system like a train. The SA node is the engine at the front, and it's going the fastest. All the other cars, they have their own little motors, but they have to follow along at the speed of the engine. And here's the absolutely brilliant part. It's a built-in failsafe. If the SA node, our engine, suddenly breaks down, the next fastest car in line, the AV node, can actually take over as the pacemaker. Yeah, the heart rate will be slower, but it keeps the train moving. It's like a built-in backup generator for your life. Incredible.
All right, so we've got the plumbing, the blood flow, and we've got the wiring, the electrical signal. Let's put them together and look at the actual mechanics of a single heartbeat. This is what we call the cardiac cycle.
So this whole cycle really boils down to 2 main phases. There's diastole, that's the relaxation phase when the heart chambers just chill out and fill with blood. And then there's systole, that's the powerful contraction phase when the heart forcefully ejects all that blood. So it's just fill and empty, relax and contract, over and over again. We can really simplify this whole complex process into 4 simple actions. First, the ventricles fill up with blood. Then they begin to squeeze, which builds up a ton of pressure. That pressure forces the valves open to eject the blood out. And finally, the ventricles relax, and the whole thing starts right over again. Fill, squeeze, eject, relax. So what about that classic lub-dub sound we all know? Well, here's a surprise. It's not the muscle you're hearing. It's the sound of those one-way valves slamming shut. The first sound, the lub, that's the sound of the big valves between the atria and ventricles closing. And the second sound, the dub, that's the sound of the valves leading out of the heart snapping shut after the blood has been ejected.
Okay, this is all happening inside us, right? So how can we actually see this incredible electrical dance from the outside? Well, that's where a really important diagnostic tool comes into play. That's where the electrocardiogram, or ECG, comes in. And here's the key thing to remember. An ECG doesn't actually show you the heart pumping. Instead, it's a direct readout of the electrical signals that make it pump. It's basically a way for us to eavesdrop on the heart's electrical conversation.
So this is what that signal looks like on paper. In a totally normal heartbeat, you see these three key parts. First, there's this small little bump, the P wave, and that represents the atria squeezing. Then, bam, you get this big spike, the QRS complex, which is the massive, powerful squeeze of the ventricles. And finally, this last bump, the T wave, shows the ventricles electrically resetting and getting ready for the next beat.
And this is why the ECG is so incredibly powerful. On the left, you can see that clean, beautiful, predictable pattern of a healthy heart. PQRST, PQRST. But look at the right. That's ventricular fibrillation. The electrical signals are just chaos. The heart muscle isn't pumping, it's just quivering uselessly. This is a life-threatening emergency, and the ECG shows us exactly what's gone wrong with the wiring.
So, by knowing what a normal heartbeat signature looks like, doctors can use an ECG to spot all kinds of trouble, from rhythms that are too fast or too slow, to that dangerous chaos of fibrillation, and even the telltale signs of muscle damage after a heart attack. I mean, when you really stop and think about it, the coordination is just breathtaking, isn't it? This perfect sync of an electrical spark causing a mechanical squeeze, managed by one-way doors, happening in two different circuits at once, 100,000 times a day, every day. It really makes you wonder, what does this incredibly elegant and resilient system teach us about the sheer genius of our own biology?